So why did you stop last time? What did you do last? So we did a question for May, is it May 2018? So I want us to do some more other few questions, 2 or 3 on the same item. So we did a question for May 2018. Question number, was it question 3 part C? Yeah, so we now go to the one for November 2017. We can do the question for November 2017. We can now check the question for November 2017. We check the one for November 2017, question number 3, part A. We now go to the sitting of November 2017. November 2017, question number 3, part A. So that question 3, part A for November 2017. Question 3, part A reads that the ordinary shares of Quaker Limited, are currently selling at shilling 60 each at the Securities Exchange. So we are doing the question for November 2017, question number 3, part A. So November 2017, question number 3, part A. So that question 3, part A reads that Quaker Limited, the ordinary shares of Quaker Limited are currently selling at 60 each at the Securities Exchange. So the company's price earning ratio is 6 times. So Quaker Limited adopts 40% payout ratio as it is dividend policy. So it is predicted that the company's earnings and the dividend will grow at an annual rate of 10% per annum, 10% for the first 3 years, 5% for the next 2 years, and 4% thereafter in perpetuity. So the investor's minimum required rate of return is meant to be 12%. So required Roman letter 1, the current intrinsic value of the share. Roman letter 2, advise the investor based on the results obtained in M, Roman letter 1 above. So the missing item there is the dividend per share. Dividend per share was not given, but the question had given you the concept of the price earning ratio, which we use to get the earning per share so that we get the dividend per share. So price earning ratio, it is supposed to be given by market price per share divided by the earnings per share. So price earning ratio is supposed to be given by market price per share divided by the earnings per share. So we make earning per share to be the subject. So making the earning per share to be the subject will be the same as market price per share. We divide by the price earning ratio. So market price per share was given as 60. Market price per share was given as 16. Then price earning ratio was given as 10. Price earning ratio was given as 10. So when you take 60 divided by 10, It should be able to give you which figure. It will give us 6. So after that, we should now be able to calculate the dividend per share. We should now be able to compute the dividend per share. So it will be given by earnings per share multiplied by the dividend payout ratio multiplied by the dividends payout ratio. So to calculate the dividend per share, we simply take the earnings per share multiplied by the dividend payout ratio. So earning per share is given as the one that we have just calculated. Dividend, when you check through the question, they had given you the dividends payout ratio. So dividend payout ratio, you can see the question gave us what percent? 40%. So get 40%, you get 40% of that, so that you get the dividend per share. So then you get 2.4. It is 2.4. So that is now our dividend per share. That now should be able to give you the dividend per share. So once we get the dividend per share, so once we get the dividend per share, we can now start with the present value of the future benefits during the non-constant, because they say that it is predicted that the company's earnings under dividends will grow at an annual rate of 10% for the first 3 years, then 5% for the next 2 years, then 4% thereafter in perpetuity. So once we have done that, now that we have the dividend per share as 2.4, let us now calculate the present value of the future benefits during the non-constant period. We now come up with the present value of the future benefits. What is it that people are not getting? What is it that people are not getting, so that I explain? I thought I started by saying that price earning ratio, it is given by market price per share divided by what? Earning per share. Then I wanted to get the earning per share. So I make earning per share to be the subject. If I make the earning per share to be the subject, it will be market price per share is 60, isn't it? Then we divide by the earning per share. So it will be market price per share divided by the price earning ratio, divided by the price earning ratio. So when it comes to that question, the market price per share was given as 60. The market price per share was given as 60. Then the price earning ratio. Price earning ratio has been given as what? 6 times. You get that question. So when you divide by 6, we should get which value? We should be able to get a figure of 10. Then after that, to calculate the dividend per share, it is meant to be earning per share multiplied by the dividend payout ratio. The dividend payout ratio. So our earning per share is 10. So dividend payout ratio. Quake adopts 40% dividend payout ratio as it is dividend policy. So when you multiply this by 40%, it should be able to give us which value? So it should be able to give you 4. So is it now clear? Yeah. Okay. So from there, we can now proceed to computing the present value of the future benefits during the non-constant, and we also add during the constant. So that is now what we have. So let us now get the present value. Present value of the future benefits. Of the future benefits. Of the future benefits during non-constant period. Non-constant. Now come up with present value of the future benefits during the non-constant period. So what do we do for that? We should be having the year. Then dividend share. So present value interest factor, the cost of capital was given as 12%. Present value interest factor. Get the present value at that point. Get the present value at that point. So that's So we start off with the year one. We start off with year one. We shall start off with year one. So the question has said that the growth rate was meant to be 10% for the first 3 years. Yeah, so year one, the dividend per share was 4%, was 4 shillings. So we increased that figure by 10%. So that is the same as 1 plus 0.1. We increase it by 10%. So that we get the dividend per share for year one. So what should be that dividend per share for year one? So this one should be 4.4. We go to year two, 4.4. We also increase it by 10%. 4.84. We go to year three, 4.84. We also increase it by 10%. 5.32. 5.324. Then after that, they said that and the dividend will grow at an annual rate for the first year, then 5% for the next 2 years. 5% for the next 2 years. So we also go to year four. This will be 5.324. We increase it by 5%. We increase it by 5%. So when you increase it by 5%, should give us which year? 5.59. But just round it off that point. Then we go to year 5, where you take 5.59. Also 1 plus 0.05, which is supposed to give us which year? $5.87. So now after that, you go to the table. You check 12% year one, 12% year two, 12% in year three, like that. Year one, it is 0.89. 0.89. Year two should be 0.797. Year three, it is supposed to be 0.71. 13 or 18. Then the next one should be 0.1. Then the last one should be 0.6. Yeah, so multiply those dividend per share by those figures, get those values, then we will have. So once you have done that, we now also compute the present value of the future benefits during the constant period. We now also calculate present value of the future benefits. We now also do a question about present value of the future benefits during the constant period. Also calculate present value of the future benefits, the present value of the future benefits during the constant period, during constant period, constant period. So for the constant period, remember, PO is supposed to be given by DO 1 plus G. We divide by KE minus G. So our PO is here 5. Our DO is also in here 5. So when converting it to 0, I say that we discount it, multiplied by the present value interest factor 12% in year 5. So our GO is the dividend in year 5. It is 5.87. So 1 plus G. So the growth rate was given thereafter. Thereafter, they said it was growing at what percent? It was growing at 4% up to perpetuity. So 4% is the same as 0.04. So KE still remain 12%, 0.12. We also minus 0.04. But now 12% in year 5 is 0.5674. So you combine them like that, then you add the two figures together. So that you get the value of the share. So you combine the two together. So add during the constant plus during the non-constant. So when you add the two figures together, what should be now the value of the ordinary share? 64.57. Online, you get which figure when you add them together? So that now will advise you to go to, so it's around 62, isn't it? Roughly, when you round it off. So when you go to the Roman letter 2, they were asking you to advise the investor based on the results obtained in Roman letter 1 above. So we are getting around 62, but the share price is currently selling at how much? At 60. So the value is almost 62. So our PO is roughly 62. But market price per share was given as 60. The market price per share was given as 60. But so that means that that share is undervalued by the market forces. The share is undervalued by the market forces. The share is undervalued by the market forces. Therefore, the investor should buy the share. The share is undervalued by the market forces. Therefore, the investor should buy the share. The investor should buy the share. So one more question. I don't know whether we did this one. November 2016, question 4A. November 2016, question number 4, part A. So did we do that one? So let us now go to November 2016, question number 4, part A. November 2016, question number 4, part A. Check November 2016. Go to November 2016. Question number 4, part A. Question number 4, part A. So that question 4, part A for November 2016. Question 4, part A for November 2016. The question reads that Buduch Limited generated shillings 50 millions, profit after tax in the previous financial year. 50 million profit after tax in the previous financial year. The firm will adopt 40% payout ratio as it is dividend policy. The firm will adopt 40% payout ratio as it is dividend policy. The total number of issued ordinary shares are 10 million. The company has a potential investment opportunity. If undertaken, dividends are expected to grow at a rate of 10% each year for the first 3 years. Then it stabilizes at a rate of 5% each year, thereafter in perpetuity. The investors' minimum required rate of return is 18%. So now required the current intrinsic value of the share. The current intrinsic value of the share. The current intrinsic value of the share. So it is still the same concept, but now again, also dividend per share has not been given. Dividend per share has not been given. So to calculate your dividend per share, when you want to compute the dividend per share we start off by computing the earning per share. So this time around, to get the earnings per share. So earnings per share will be given by the earnings available. Earnings available. So earnings available is the same as earnings after tax. It's the same as the earnings after the tax. But we divide by number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So the first item there, we check through the question. They gave you the after-tax profit. You see the 50 millions? Yeah, so we take the 50 millions. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares. The number of the issued ordinary shares are how many? So divide by 10 millions. So that will give us the earning per share. They should be able to give you the earning per share, which is which value? Next to be 5. Then after that, we now also compute what is supposed to be the dividend per share. So dividend per share, you simply take earning per share multiplied by dividend payout ratio. Dividend payout ratio. So we simply take earning per share multiplied by the dividend payout ratio. So earning per share, we have calculated, we got 5. Then dividend payout ratio. So the dividend payout ratio is able to be given as 40%. So we get 40% of that figure. We should be able to give us 2. So after that, now they say that the company has a potential investment. So if undertaken, dividends are expected to grow at a rate of 10% for the first 3 years. Then it stabilizes at 5%. So we start with present value of the future benefits. Of the future benefits during the non-constant period. During non-constant period. The non-constant period. So we start with present value of the future benefits during non-constant period. So we shall be having the year, then dividend per share, present value interest factor, present value interest factor, that is supposed to be what percent? 18%. Is it 18 or 8? Yeah, so that's the present value. So we start off with year 1. So year 1, you take the 2, but the first 3 years it is growing at what percent? 10%. So when we increase that by 10%, it will be able to give us here. Then year 3, you take 2.2, also we increase it by 10%. Yeah. 2.42. And now year 3, it is 2.42. Also we increase it by 10%. So after that, we should now go to check what is 18% in year 1. What should be 18% in year 1? Which should be the value? Have you seen the figure in the table, 18%? Online, 18% in year 1. Is it there in the table? But I've shown you how to calculate. When it is not in the table, we agreed it is 1 plus r raised to the power of negative n. So it will be 1 plus 0.18 raised to the power of negative 1. So we had agreed that you round it off. You round it off into 4 decimal places. When the figure is not in the table, I have shown you how to calculate them. Kindly, you just calculate. You should not always be relying on the table. Get to understand that you can also calculate the figure instead of using the table. So it is 0.8 what? 0.8475. So this will be 0.8745. How about year 2? And then 0.8475. So year 2, you raise to the power of negative 2. Year 2, you raise it to the power of negative, which is the same as 0.7182. How about year 3? Year 3, you raise to the power of negative 3. 0.6086. So 0.6086. So multiplied by those figures, you get the value. So next time when I ask you, get to understand that also you can calculate. The first table, we use that formula. The second table, I had given you the formula. When the figure is not in the table, it is not the end of doing the question. Those figures can be calculated using your calculator. And I've shown you all the formulas. So remember to take the formula and calculate the values when you find that the figure is not in the table. So after that, you now also compute during the constant period. you also compute the present value of the future benefits. So you also compute present value of the future benefits during the constant period. During the constant period. During the constant period. So compute present value of the future benefits during the constant period. Or is supposed to be given by B or 1 plus G divided by KE minus G and multiplied by the present value interest factor 18% in year 3, because now our DO is in year 3. So our dividend in year 3, it was 2.66, but now it is growing at what percent? 5%. So the growth rate will now be 5% each year thereafter. So 5% is the same as 0.05. So KE is 0.18 minus 0.05. Also multiply 0.6086. So get that value. Then add them together to give you the value of the share. Then remember to add them together to give you the value of the share. So when you add them together, you are getting which value? 18.308. Yeah, so that should be now in relation to that. So there was the last category of the ordinary shares. When you check through your notes, we had said that ordinary shares were classified into 3 categories. We had said that ordinary shares were classified into 3 categories. Which one is remaining? Because we have so far discussed 2 of them. Yeah, so let us go now to the category number 3, which is 0 dividend growth rate ordinary shares. We go to the category number 3, which is supposed to be 0 dividend growth rate ordinary shares. So what should be the question? Just chat me the question. So this one, we could not tell whether it is undervalued or overvalued, because we were not given the current market price per share. Were we given the current market price per share? Yeah, so it was not given like the other question. So this one we could not comment. You are just meant to calculate. We cannot be able to comment because the question should give you the current market price per share for you to advise. So let us now go to the zero dividend growth rate ordinary shares. So for the zero dividend growth rate ordinary shares, we summarize that these are ordinary shares. These are ordinary shares whose dividends remain constant until, remain the same, sorry. These are ordinary shares whose dividends remains the same, until unforeseeable future, whose dividends remains the same until unforeseeable future. They remain the same until unforeseeable future. And therefore, their theoretical value will be expressed as follows. They remain the same until unforeseeable future, and therefore the theoretical value will be expressed as follows. And therefore their theoretical value will be expressed as follows. So now to get their theoretical value, to compute the theoretical value, it should be that VO should be equal to D divided by KE. So now the theoretical value VO should be equal to D divided by KE. So you already know what is PO, you already know D, you already know KE, because our PO is the value for the share, D is simply the dividend per share, KE is the cost of the ordinary share. So I can't see any question in the past paper in relation to that. So that now concludes valuation of the ordinary share. That now concludes the valuation of the ordinary share. So let us now go to valuation of the fixed return securities. We now have a brief subtopic as valuation of the fixed return securities. Valuation of the fixed return security. Remember, ordinary share was variable return security. We now go to valuation of the fixed return securities. We now go to the valuation of the fixed return securities. Valuation of the fixed return securities. So we note that these are securities whose returns remains fixed. Whose returns remains fixed. Whose returns remains fixed. Whose returns remain fixed. Therefore, the fixed rate of return. Therefore, the fixed rate of return. The fixed rate of return is known as. The fixed rate of return is known as the coupon rate. The fixed rate of return is known as the coupon rate. The fixed rate of return is known as the coupon rate. Then we continue by writing that they are classified into two categories. 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 Roman letter 1 will be preference shares. Roman letter 1 should be the preference shares. Roman letter 2 will be debenture or bond. Roman letter 2 should be debenture or the bond. Roman letter 2, let it be debenture or the bond. So let us start with valuation of the preference shares. Let us start with valuation of the preference shares. Valuation of the preference shares. So under that, you note that these are perpetual securities. These are perpetual securities. These are perpetual securities which remains outstanding. They are perpetual securities which remains outstanding, as long as the company is a going concern. They are perpetual securities which remains outstanding as long as the company is a going concern. As long as the company is a going concern. As long as a company is a going concern. Then you continue by noting that the fixed returns are in the form of the dividends. The fixed returns are in the form of the dividends. The fixed returns are in the form of the dividends. Then we continue by writing that it is theoretical value will be expressed as follows. It is theoretical value will be expressed as follows. It is theoretical value will be expressed as follows. So PO will be equal to, so D divided by KB divided by KB. So PO will be equal to D divided by KB. D, our PO will be equal to D divided by KB, where D is the dividend per share. D is the dividend per share. And KB is the cost of the preference share. KB will be the cost of the preference share. KB is meant to be the cost of the preference share. So there is an illustration on that in your past papers, November 2016, question number 4, part B. November 2016, question number 4, part B. November 2016, question number 4, part B. So check November 2016. So the same question, but now we go to part B. The same question that we have just done. We got the question number 4, part B. So the part B, they say that a firm issued a 10% preference shares. A firm issued a 10% preference shares to raise funds. The shares have above value of shillings 100. The shares have above value of shillings 100 each and are currently selling at how much? At 110 each. The minimum required rate of return by the investor is 8%. So required, explain whether the share is overvalued or undervalued by the market forces. So a farmer has 10% preference share to raise funds. Then the share have above value of 100. So to get the value of that preference share, it is dividend divided by KB. So dividend is calculated on the par value. Dividend per share is calculated on the par value. So simply get 10% of the par value. 10% of the par value. And the par value has been given us 100. So 10% of 100 should be able to give us which figure? It will give us 10. So now to compute our P4, D is 10. KB is the cost of the preference share. So they said that the minimum required rate of return by the investor is what percent? 8%. So 8% is the same as 0.08. So the cost of the preference share is that minimum required rate of return, which was given as 8%. So we get now the value for that particular preference share. We now get the value of that. So it is giving us which year? Sorry? 125. But the question has given you the current market price per share. They have said it is currently trading at how much? 110. So you can see this share is undervalued because the market has given it 110. The true value is 125. So the advice would be that the share is undervalued by the market forces. The share is undervalued by the market forces. The share is undervalued by the market forces. That share has been undervalued by the market forces. So that's now the recommendation you could be able to give. So let us now also have number 2 as valuation of debenture or bond. Let us now go to valuation of debenture or the bond. We now look at valuation of debenture or the bond. We now look at valuation of the debenture or the bond. So under that, we shall note that debentures or bonds are classified into 2 categories. Debenture or bond are classified into 2 categories. Debenture or bond are classified into 2 categories as follows. They are classified into 2 categories as follows. They are classified into 2 categories as follows. A, irredeemable debenture. A would be irredeemable debenture. Then B will be redeemable debenture. So we have irredeemable debenture and also redeemable debenture. So we start with valuation of the irredeemable debenture. We start off with valuation of irredeemable debenture. We start off with valuation of irredeemable debenture. So under that, we note that these are debentures which remain outstanding. These are debentures which remains outstanding. They are debentures which remains outstanding as long as the company is a going concern. They are debentures which remains outstanding as long as the company is a going concern. As long as the company is a going concern. Its theoretical value will be expressed as follows. 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 So to calculate the theoretical value, it will be, so the value, so I'll be explaining what we mean by these terms. So to get the theoretical value of the debenture, the theoretical value of the debenture, so it will simply be equal to interest divided by KD. divided by KD. So this one is value of the debenture. KD is the cost of the debenture, where BD is the value of the debenture. KD is meant to be the cost of the debenture. KD is meant to be cost of the debenture. So that's now how we shall be getting the value of irredeemable debenture. Let us also have valuation of redeemable debenture. We got now to be as valuation of redeemable debenture. Valuation of redeemable debenture. We now look at valuation of redeemable debenture. So when it comes to valuation of redeemable debenture, we summarize that these are debentures. These are debentures which have a defined maturity period. These are debentures which have a defined maturity period. They are debentures which have a defined maturity period. Their theoretical value will be equal to, their theoretical value will be equal to the present value of, the present value of, the present value of the constant interest per period. Their theoretical value will be equal to the present value of the constant interest per period, the constant interest per period, and the maturity value or redemption value, and the maturity value or redemption value, or the maturity value or redemption value, which is expressed as follows, which is expressed as follows, which is expressed as follows. So we get now the value of the bond. Value of the bond, value of the bond must be equal to present value of interest, present value of interest per period, present value of interest per, also add present value of the maturity value, present value of the maturity value, present value of the maturity value, the present value of the maturity value. So we can start with the question for May 2016. May 2016, there is a question number 2, part C. May 2016, there is a question number 2, part C. May 2016, there is a question number 2, part C. May 2016, there is a question number 2, part C. So that question 2, part C reads that James is considering purchase of a 4-year shillings 1.2 million par value bond. Is considering the purchase of a 4-year shillings 1.2 million par value of the bond. The bond has an interest rate of 10% per annum. The bond has 10% interest rate of 10% per annum. The investor's required rate of return is 8%. The investor's required rate of return is 8%. So required the current value of the bond. So because it matures after 4 years, it means it is redeemable. It is redeemable. So we start off by first, and because to get the value of the bond, it is present value of the interest per period. We add present value of the maturity value. So the first thing, we need to compute interest. We need to calculate the interest. So interest should be, the interest is calculated. So the interest is the coupon rate. The interest rate there is given as 10%. So we get 10% of the bar value. And we can see the bar value is how much? 1.2 millions. So get 10% of 1.2 millions. Sorry? What? So it will be 120,000. So we are computing the value of the bond. So we start with the present value of the interest. We start with the present value of the interest. So it is per period. So it is an annuity. It is an annuity. So it will be given by annuity multiplied by the present value interest factor, multiplied by the present value interest factor. So the cost of capital was given as 8%. So it is 8% for how many years? 4 years. So you take 120, confirm in the second table because it is annuity table. What is 8% in period 4? What should be 8% in period 4? In the second table. Sorry? 3.31 to 1. So online, I hope you can see that figure in the table. 3.31 to 1. Then we are supposed to add present value of maturity value of maturity value. Present value of the maturity value. So unless otherwise stated, maturity value is the same as the bar value. Unless otherwise, maybe you can just write a small note somewhere. Maybe after we have, let us first compute, then we shall go back and comment that. So maturity value is the same as the bar value, which is 1.2, but it only occurs once. It only occurs once at the end of the period. So you discount it at the present value interest factor, 8% in year 4. But this time you use the first table. It will be 1.2 millions. Using the first table, what is 8% in period 4? Using the first table, what is 8% in period 4? So it will be 0.73. Yeah, so add them together to get now the value of the bond. Add them together so that you now get the value of the bond. So you add them together so that you also get the value of the bond. So it's living ratio. So you are getting a total of 1,279,452. So that's now how you are to calculate the value of the bond. That's now how you are to come up with the value for the bond. So the next question I want us to check. Go to the next sitting, May 2015. It is just the next page. Yeah, the way they arranged them. When you go to the previous page, you will get May 2015. So I want us to do the question for May 2015. May 2015, question number 2, part C. So go to May 2015, question number 2, part C. May 2015, question number 2, part C. Question number 2, part C. So someone said, we write the short note. So maybe you can just write down there the note. NB. So NB, you are to write that. NB, you are to write that unless otherwise stated. Unless otherwise stated. Unless otherwise stated, comma, the maturity value. The maturity value is the same as the par value. The maturity value is the same as the par value. The maturity value is the same as the par value. So unless otherwise stated, the maturity value will be the same as the par value. That's what I've done in this particular question. So let us now go to that question for May 2015. Question number 2, part C. May 2015. Question number 2, part C. So that question 2, part C for May 2015. The question reads that LEM Limited is currently issuing 9% bonds redeemable at least 100 par value in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time. Alternatively, each bond may be converted on that date into 20 ordinary shares, into 20 ordinary shares of the company. The current market price per share is 4.45, and it is expected to grow at a rate of what percent? 6.5% per annum for the foreseeable future. The company's cost of debt is 7% per annum. So required, Roman letter 1, market value of the bond. Roman letter 1 should be market value of the bond. Roman letter 2, floor value of the bond. Roman letter 3, conversion what? So we should first understand what do we mean by market value of the bond. Also, what do we mean by the floor value of the bond. So let us start with the Roman letter 1, market value of the bond. Let us start with Roman letter 1 as the market value of the bond. Market value of the bond. Market value of the bond. So first we note that it is the value of the bond. It is the value of the bond. It is the value of the bond where the maturity value, where the maturity value is adjusted, where the maturity value is adjusted, maturity value is adjusted to reflect the current conditions in the market. Maturity value is adjusted to reflect the current conditions in the market. It is adjusted to reflect the current conditions in the market. The current conditions in the market. So that's what we mean by market value. So it is going back to the point I've given you, that unless otherwise stated, maturity value is the same as the bar. So this one is adjusted now. It is stated that it will be adjusted. So to answer the question, we have seen how to get the value for the bond. Value of the bond is simply equal to present value of the interest per period, and we add what? Present value of the maturity value. So we shall use the same formula. We shall apply the same formula so that we come up with the market value of the bond, so that we come up with market value of the bond. So this is now how to calculate market of bond. How to calculate market value of the bond. So first, we calculate the interest. So to get the value for the bond is equal to present value of the interest per period. Then we add present value of the maturity value. So we start off by calculating interest. We start off by computing interest. We start off by calculating interest. So to get interest, so interest rate is 9%. Interest rate is 9%. The bar value is 100. So get 9% of 100. 9% of 100. Come up with 9% of 100. So what should be 9% of 100? So it will be able to give us 9. So after that, we also need to calculate maturity value. We also need to calculate the maturity value. So to compute the maturity value, they are saying that it can be converted into how many ordinary shares? 20 ordinary shares. So that bond is equivalent to 20 ordinary shares. But it will mature after how many years? 5 years. So they have given us the current market price per share of 4.45. So, but that price is growing at what percent? 6.5%. So we shall increase the 4.45 by 6.5% for 5 years, then multiplied by the 20 ordinary shares. That means that the maturity value for that bond will be equivalent to the market value of the ordinary shares after 5 years. I hope it makes sense at that point. Yeah, so what we shall say that is that market price per share in year 5 will be given by market price per share in year 0. Then we shall be able to add 1 plus G. 1 plus G raised to the power of N. So N will be the same as 5 because it is for the next 5 years. It is for the next 5 years. So the price to pay, they were able to give us a figure. The price to pay has been given us 4.0. So it is growing at what rate? 6.5. So 6.5 the same as 0.065. for 5 years, what we get that market price per share in year 5. So that we come up with what should be the market price per share. That's 6 point. You know, I'm part of the same. Online, what will be the price? 6.097. So they have given me 6.097. So now, to get the maturity value, to compute the maturity value. So maturity value will now be equivalent to 6.097 multiplied by 20 ordinary shares. Now equivalent to 6.097 multiplied by 20 ordinary shares, because it will be converted into 20 ordinary shares. $121.94. So if that's now the case, we can now get the value of the bond. Now get the value of bond. So now to get the value of the bond, now to get our value. So our value of the bond, the value of the bond, the value of the, so we start with present value of the interest. We start off with present value of the interest. So it will be annuity multiplied by present value interest factor for the annuity. Present value interest factor for the annuity. So you can see the cost of capital is given as what percent? Cost of the debt is 7%. So it will be 7% for how many years? 7% for 5 years. So that annuity is what we have it as 9. Interest factor was 9. Then what is 7% in year 5? Just a second step. Yeah. Just switch here. 1.102. So that should be the present value for the interest. Then you also factor in present value of the maturity value. So present value of the maturity value. So maturity value was 121.94. So we discount it at the present value interest factor 7% in year 5. So this time around we use the first table because it only occurs once. So this will be 121.94. So when you check now in the first table, it is 0. What? 7133 30. So add them now together to get value of the bond. Value of of the bond. Add them together so that we now get the market value of the bond. So you add those figures to get now the market value of the bond, so that we get now the market value of the bond. So that we get the market value of the bond. So that we get market value of the bond. So what are we coming up with as the market value for the bond? No, 123. Yeah, so let us now go to the Roman letter 2. Roman letter 2 is the floor value of the bond. We now go to the Roman letter 2 as the floor value of the bond. Let us now go to Roman letter 2 as the floor value of the bond. We now go to the Roman letter 2 as the floor value of the bond. So let us now explain what we mean by the floor value of the bond. So we write something brief on the floor value of the bond. We summarize that it is the value of the bond. It is the value of the bond. It is the value of the bond when the maturity value. It is the value of the bond when maturity value of the bond, when the maturity value of the bond is the same as the par value of the bond. When the maturity value is the same as the par value of the bond. Maturity value is the same as the par value of the bond. So you want now to calculate the floor value of the bond. So to get now floor value of the bond. So to get the value for the bond, we repeat the same process. Value of the bond is equal to present value of the interest per period. We also add what? The present value of the maturity value. Present value of the maturity value. So interest is not affected. It does remain how much? 9. Interest is not affected. It will just remain 9. So what is only changing is now the maturity value. What is changing is now the maturity value. But maturity value will be the same as the par value. Maturity value is the same as the par value of the bond, which is how much? 100. So now the maturity value will be the same as the par value, which is 100. So everything remains. So to get the value change is only this maturity value. This one changes to 100. Everything remains. You only change that one. And you get now the new value for the bond. So all other details have remained the same. What we are changing is only the maturity value. We make it 100 because the par value was 100. then get now the new value of the bond. They now get the new value of the bond. So what are we coming up with? 108.2. So that should now be the floor value for the bond. So we can now go to the Roman letter 3. We can now go to the Roman letter 3. So Roman letter 3, they wanted you to calculate the conversion premium per share. They wanted you to compute the conversion premium. So they wanted you to come up with the conversion premium. So conversion premium. Conversion premium. It is given by market value of the bond. Market value of the bond. Then we minus the current conversion value of the bond. The current conversion value of the bond. Current conversion value of the bond. So conversion premium is supposed to be given by market value of the bond minus the current conversion value of the bond. So to get the current conversion value of the bond, current conversion value of the bond, you simply take those number of the ordinary, because it can currently be converted into 20 ordinary shares. But we use the current market price. We use the current market price. So current market price was given as which price? 4.45. So multiply 4.45 so that you get the current conversion value of the bond. Get 89. So now our conversion premium. The conversion premium, you simply take market value of the bond was Roman letter 1. You got how much in the Roman letter 1? 1? 102.8. And now you minus the 89. Minus 89. But they want it per share. You see that? Conversion premium per share. So because it is per share, divided by 20 ordinary shares because it was being converted into 20 ordinary shares. So they wanted per share. So because it is per share, remember to divide by 20. So the next question should be September 2021. Question number 1, part C. The next question is supposed to be September 2021. Question number 1, part C. September 2021, there is a question number 1, part C. September 2021, there is a question number 1, part C. So time remaining will not allow me to finish the questions. Today we have another class at 2. Yeah, so when we meet at 2, we shall start with that question so that we conclude now the topic for valuation. So we can stop there for now, because even if I go through the question, the time remaining will not allow me to finish the question. So what we can do for now, we leave it at that point so that when we meet at 2, we finish that question, then we start another part of the syllabus. So let us stop there for now.